So it's here, the final match day in the Scottish Premiership season, and of course we have the massive title decider between Celtic and Hearts. Before I get into the predictions for the final match day of the season, for only two games that really have any sort of meaning behind them, the rest are dead rubbers. I want to address the handball incident that took place on Wednesday night in the Celtic Motherwell game. Having seen several different footage showing different angles, mirrors, even a lot of AI in there, I would still lean towards that it hit his hand. However, I would say that it's on the inconclusive side, and that as a result, it probably shouldn't have gone to VAR in the first place. The big problem is that not every angle was available to John Beaton, which is why if you're not going to have all of the angles available in Scotland, VAR shouldn't be a thing. I do think there's an angle from behind the goal that the camera showed that it does hit his hand, but the angles that we had were inconclusive, in my opinion now, and as a result I don't think it should have gone to VAR. But John Beaton has made a decision. I think Andrew Dallas was on VAR as well. They both thought it was a penalty, so it'll be interesting to see what the explanation is from Willie Collum, because the SFA have of course backed John Beaton's decision. It'll be interesting to see what the explanation is in the VAR review that will be coming very soon. I just hope that we don't have anything tainted in the final game between Celtic and Hearts. If Celtic do now win it by a goal or two, and they wouldn't have won it with the goal difference of a draw, then it's going to be a massive talking point, of course. It's been a huge talking point across world football since the incident took place, but I just hope that the referees have a good game in the final game. They haven't had a good game in the past few televised games. Celtic versus Motherwell, Celtic versus Rangers, Motherwell versus Hearts, Hearts versus Rangers. I don't think the officials had great games in any of them. So we need to kind of get that sorted out, hopefully, for the final game. But without further ado, let's get into the predictions for the final match day for the Scottish Premiership season. And we'll start off with the dead rubbers and leave, of course, the title challenge to the end. So, starting off with St Mirren versus Dundee United. St Mirren know their fate now. They will be playing a relegation playoff against either Dunfermline or Partick Thistle. They will probably want to build momentum heading into that, given the fact that Dundee United's season is over regardless. They don't have a playoff to play, they're safe. So I'm going to go for a St Mirren win in this situation, and I'm going to go for 2-0 St Mirren. Livingston versus Kilmarnock. This had the potential to be a massive game in terms of Livingston's potential survival if results had gone their way in the split and Kilmarnock didn't pick up points, but it wasn't to be. Did Livingston go out on a high and get themselves a win before having to play Championship football next season? Or do Kilmarnock spoil that for Livingston? I think Kilmarnock and Livingston are going to play out a pretty non-eventful draw here, in my opinion. We'll go 0-0. Dundee and Aberdeen. Aberdeen picked up their first loss of the split in the previous round of fixtures. Dundee might want to go out on a high for the season that started off really low. The fans were not impressed with the appointment of Stephen Pressley. They had a poor League Cup campaign. It looked like it was only going one way, and they've managed to, been okay and taking points off of the big boys at times. So I think Dundee are going to win their final home game of the season. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Dundee win. And on to a game that Rangers fans and Falkirk fans would have been hoping was not a dead rubber, but it is. We find ourselves in a situation where Falkirk, after the last match day against Hearts, can no longer finish in those European places, so their season is over. They also probably would have felt as though they would have liked a Scottish Cup final to be looking forward to. As much as Falkirk have had an excellent season finishing in the top six, it has been a disappointing end to the season for them, kind of not competing for those European places and not being in a Scottish Cup final as well. But of course, it's been even more of a disappointment for Rangers. The appointment of Russell Martin at the start of the season, not great. not great performances in Europe. Danny Rowe came in, kind of steadied the ship for a little bit, and now it's been 4 defeats in a row post-split. I can't imagine what the reaction would be if Rangers finish with 5 defeats post-split, but I think most of the Rangers fans' attentions will actually be on the game at Celtic Park, hoping that the Tynecastle side can pick up the victory or even just the draw there to become champions. But regardless, the big talking point for Rangers is the whole Danny Rowe situation at the moment, and Tavernier kind of calling him out on his Instagram, if you like, not getting played in the game, his farewell game at Ibrox. And the big thing is that a lot of the players that currently play at Rangers and ex-players have liked and commented on the post, seemingly showing their support for Tavernier. So if that's the case, even though Danny Rowe came out and said that he's got the support of the board, if he's lost the dressing room, he's going to need a lot of transfers to come in next season for the dressing room to change, I would believe. So he could already be dead in the water for next season with that being the case. In terms of this game though, I'm not going to back Rangers to lose 5 games in a row unless they really have turned on Danny Rowe. Then it's a possibility, but I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this game. So on to our last 2 games that actually have some sort of meaning with how they're going to pan out. So Hibs versus Motherwell. We find ourselves in a situation where Hibs picking up a win, they would leapfrog Motherwell into 4th place and they would guarantee themselves a shot at European football as a result, no matter what happens in the Scottish Cup final between Celtic and Dunfermline. Motherwell will be hoping to secure that as well. It's going to be a very tight affair, I think. Hibs, good results their past 2, their discipline let them down in the first few games. So they'll be looking to try and carry that momentum. Motherwell will be feeling really hard done by the fact that they didn't at least get a point against Celtic. I would say, though, given the fact that it's Easter Road, I am actually going to back Hibs to come away 2-1 winners here in Martin Boyle's final game for Hibs as well. Motherwell will probably still end up in Europe regardless, as will Hibs, no matter which way this game goes. I don't see Dunfermline taking the Scottish Cup away from Celtic. So, well, I say away from Celtic, it's currently Aberdeen's, but beating Celtic in the Scottish Cup final, I don't see that happening. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 Hibs win, but I think both of them will end up with European football regardless. And now, on to the biggest game that Scottish football has seen since I can remember. Anyway, the league title deciding final day of the season, Celtic versus Hearts at Celtic Park. Hearts find themselves in a situation where a draw would be enough. Anything other than a draw or a win would mean that all their hard work, I say anything other than a draw or a win, it's, you get beat, that's the other option. But if they do get beat, all their hard work throughout the season have been top, apart from one day since September, will be undone, and Celtic will win the league. I hope that this game doesn't have any massive talking points apart from the actual football on the park. And I do think that Celtic are going to win the league now that it's a case of Celtic just having to win the game. It may have been a different story had Celtic needed to go and score 3 or 4 goals to win the league. But I do think that Celtic at home with the crowd behind them, the momentum that they've had in the split with 4 wins in a row, I think that they will just go ahead and do it. Will it be quite as dramatic as the Motherwell game? I wouldn't mind the drama in terms of a spectacle, but in terms of the uncertainty of the award of a penalty, probably not what I'd be looking for. I don't want the eyes of the world to be on this game and then say, the referee's kind of decided where it went in the final game as well. If Celtic only win this by a goal or 2, it's going to go back to that penalty incident. People are going to be talking about it for a long time. So I would imagine that every single neutral fan is going to want Hearts to win this game, and the only ones that are not going to want them to win this game, or draw it at least, is going to be the Hibs and Celtic fans. Obviously, regardless of what happens, Celtic will have a Scottish Cup final to play after this game as well, so they still have an opportunity to win either a trophy or a double. Hearts will be given their all in this game, but I do think Celtic are going to win 2-1. That's going to do it for the predictions for the final match day of the Scottish Premiership season. I will also be doing a prediction for the Scottish Cup final as well, and I'll be doing predictions for Scotland's World Cup journey too. If you are new around here, please consider checking out some of the other content on the channel, liking and subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next one.